Are you finished with those shirts yet? I got so much crap last week for a crumpled shirt. You may be an internet star and everybody loves you, but you're still my producer and you have to look after the real talent. That's me.
Yes, Mr. Beer.
Don't you just love a freshly ironed shirt? Fantastic. Welcome to Annoyed Gamer. I am Marcus Beer and I am here yet again to talk about stuff that concerns you and concerns me because we are gamers and we are awesome. Packed show, packed segment today, in fact, and I'm going to kick off with a brand new segment, Annoyed Gamer News and Views, all in one go, tiny little segment. Let's go. First of all, EA have killed off the season pass. And this is where we insert the Hallelujah song. They've finally seen the light. They've basically said, yeah, we kind of reached out to our consumers and they didn't like it. No shit, Sherlock. Yeah, about time they got rid of that, absolutely. Although, I gotta say, what are they gonna do to make up for it? And unfortunately, it shows how much mistrust we as gamers have of Electronic Arts right now, because they do something like this, which is hopefully a positive step, yet we are all waiting for the kick. It's like, here's the bunch of flowers, and here's the slap. We'll see what happens. This is EA we're talking about. Next topic. Nintendo have decided to go and start seizing ownership and copyright of a bunch of YouTube videos that feature their newer games. But basically it means that if you've done a video that's a playthrough or, you know, showing how to speedrun Mario or whatever it is, and it's popular and you make some money off the ad revenue it gets generated, you know, Nintendo wants that, and Nintendo's taking that off you. And I'm sorry, Nintendo, bad form. I mean, yes, it is your intellectual property, but couldn't you have shown a little bit of compassion to these people who are practically your bloody ambassadors? These are the fans who will keep on buying your games and keep on buying your consoles. These are the guys who bought the Wii U, for God's sake. They deserve medals, in my opinion. So maybe you should have reached out to the really prolific ones. You know what? We're gonna split this with you. 50-50, 60-40. We're gonna reward you for taking the time to love our games, to buy our games, to play our games so that you become experts on them, for the cool commentary you add, for not snarking it up. You know, we're going to reward you for basically not being Annoyed Gamer. Basically, if I was recording that stuff, it would just be me snarking the entire time. But these people love and respect Nintendo, and Nintendo is basically giving them the shaft. Bad Nintendo. Bad. Alrighty, first big segment, and this is one that I got sent a lot of info on last week because I've done some research into it and I've spoken to a couple of people around the industry, and this is Metro Last Light and Ranger Mode. First off, let me say that Metro Last Light is absolutely a fantastic game. It's one of my favorites already. So anyway, last week it surfaced that Ranger Mode, which is like the ultra hard mode with, you know, that you get really in the first game in Metro 2033, has been grayed out in this version for the basic, you know, purchaser of the game. And obviously a lot of people right off the bat were going, oh, Deep Silver are bastards, they're going the EA route, they're going to gouge us, they charge us $5 to unlock this. The only way, you know, you could unlock this, one was to put down your money for pre-order, or you have to pay $5 on PSN, Xbox Live, or on Steam to unlock Ranger Mode. And you need Ranger Mode if you are achievement whore. So I actually did some digging. I basically got some answers that may surprise you. Yes, is everybody pissed off that Ranger Mode is not in the basic version of the game? Yes. Are we right to be pissed off? Yes. Should we be blaming Deep Silver? Survey says no. Bizarrely enough, this is a leftover from THQ. It's as if they've basically come back from beyond the grave and managed to fuck something up once again. So Deep Silver only came on board a couple of months ago when they won the bidding war and picked up Metro, and they basically seen it through to launch, and they basically shelled out for this game and then had to honor the pre-orders because there was a grandfathered in agreement with GameStop for this. They are concerned as anybody else. They don't want the negative publicity. They want people to love it. They want people to see that A4 Games have done something phenomenal here. However, they are bound. Let's count the things. First of all, they can't piss off GameStop. GameStop are still the biggest specialty retailer in the United States. They can't afford to piss those guys off. Two, there are people who did put their money down for pre-order to get Ranger Mode. If you release Ranger Mode for free, these guys are going to be pissed off. It's like, I pre-ordered, where's my bonus? I didn't get anything. Three, having to deal with Microsoft and PlayStation. Steam, it's probably a little easier to actually put an update out there and not pay a shitload of money. But unfortunately with Microsoft and PlayStation, you know, they're going to charge. Microsoft in particular loves to make money off DLC. So if Deep Silver want to turn around and release this for free or release something else for free as a make good or whatever, they're going to have to pay for it and they're going to lose money again. So if you want to pick on somebody who set this up, yeah, I would go with Jason Rubin, because he's the one who basically, you know, oversaw the selling off of a bunch of stuff and didn't increase budgets for people and came in and talked the talk and said, yes, we must protect the developers and blah, blah, blah. And the developers are great. I am all about pushing the developers. This is also the guy who basically said that, you know, Saints Row could be a great franchise if it didn't have the embarrassing humor, when Saints Row 3 was probably one of the best of the bunch and a totally different way of looking at the open world environment. Just shows, Mr. Rubin, that you're basically kind of out of touch on stuff. So do me a favor, before you start writing off these long-winded opinion pieces that you get published by gamesindustry.biz, one, get your facts straight with regards to a bunch of inaccuracies about A4 and the environment they have to work in. And two, you know, glass houses, stones, don't throw. Don't go picking on Deep Silver. They've done a really good marketing campaign and a good PR campaign. They're getting the game out there to people while still having to deal with the bullshit that you oversaw in your time. All right, lasty topic-y of today, and this is one I teased directly after recording last week's Annoyed Gamer, and this is basically the rise of the trolling, agenda-pushing journalist. You know, the ones basically looking for controversy where there is none. Yeah, and I like to call this Fox News syndrome. What got me going to my computer and doing some research and pulling up a bunch of links to a bunch of stories that have happened in the last couple of months alone? Well, it was a story on Kotaku about Blood Dragon, Far Cry Blood Dragon. A great game, $14.99, a fun shooter, 6 hours of single player, plus a huge map to explore, pastiche of 80s action movies. So here is the offending 2 lines.
Men wanna be me, and you wanna be with men. Yeah, I got it.
Yes, there's a gay joke in Far Cry Blood Dragon. One gay joke that's a pastiche of 80s movies, featuring some characters that are caricatures of over testosterone masculinity that you would find in any 80s action movie. Hell, you will find some of those guys around today, a lot of them. But a one-line joke being used to beat the developer with a stick because this one journalist has an agenda and wants to push it, and that agenda means I'm putting a whole bunch of shitty stuff up just to get the click-through so I can get paid, is unacceptable. I went off and I looked at a bunch of other stuff from that writer and from some other writers. Oh, here's another doozy. A whole post about the PlayStation 4 launch event and why weren't there any women on stage presenting? Oh, the humanity. Guess what? Sony had an event. They flew people in from all over the world. They had people up on stage talking, and they didn't have a woman on there. I personally had no problems with the Sony press conference. I didn't really notice that there wasn't a woman on stage. And it wasn't because I am sexist. It's because I was too busy listening to the content. You could have put a dwarf up there covered in lime green jello, juggling chickens. And I probably wouldn't have paid, well, I would have paid some attention if Sony had turned around and put a hot girl up there, an attractive woman in a tight outfit, looking amazing, who delivered her stuff and was brilliant. We would have seen an article that, oh, they only put her up there because she has big boobs. This person has a fucking agenda, and that agenda is to get more clicks and be controversial and doesn't really give a shit about facts or anything else. But guess what? There's more. From a different writer, let's talk about Dragon's Crown. Hugely anticipated game by a lot of people. Silly and fun and Vanillaware do some really good hack and slash games. Now, obviously, somebody at this site, again, a couple of weeks ago, decided to say, let's look at the art, and maybe Vanillaware shouldn't let the art in their games be designed by a 14-year-old. Now, obviously, that's kind of insulting to the artist, and especially if you look at the art in general. I mean, this one journalist was offended that there was a female sorceress, and she had big boobs. But then if you look in context, you look at the warriors and the various other characters, the guy characters, tiny hips, 26-pack. Big boobs, almost as big as the bloody woman in some cases. But you know what? We take it with a pinch of salt. We have a laugh because it's a game. It's a fantasy game. And that's just part of the genre. George Kamatani, who was the artist, decided to respond. And I gotta say, perhaps he didn't choose the best way to respond, although it made me chuckle. And he basically posted to a Facebook page that, you know, this certain writer didn't like it, so perhaps he'd like this picture better. And it was a picture of 3 big, large, hairy dwarves, like semi-naked. Uh-oh, now there's an inference that the writer is gay and that's why he doesn't like boobs. So instead of taking that response with a pinch of salt and just having, oh, you know, that's kind of funny, kind of silly. We've got this writer going off and saying, oh, they shouldn't have done that, and yes, it is adolescent, and yeah, they are terrible for doing this. Let's put some things into context. Every time you do one of these trolling, nasty, controversy-stirring little posts that are just designed to do one thing, create clicks and create money for you and ad revenue and stuff like that, you do damage to the real issues. I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna respond to you and I'm gonna rip you to pieces. And I really don't have a problem with you coming back at me either, because I will sit here and defend myself and defend the good journalists in this games industry and go after people like you who make mountains out of molehills. And I've got to admit, I basically, you know, went down that line about 6-8 weeks ago. I jumped in on the bandwagon and talked about God of War, Bros vs. Hoes. It was terrible and you're beating up women. And I totally bought into it. And I promise you that shit won't happen again, because I went and rewatched that show and I read all the comments. And a lot of people were right. I did jump on the fucking bandwagon. I'm ashamed of myself for that. And you won't see that shit from me anymore. Every time you do this, as I said before, you damage and dilute the real issue because people lose patience with it. It's got to stop. You're doing nothing but damage. Stop pushing your trolling agenda. And do me a favor, get the fuck out of the industry. You're not journalists. You're bloggers in the loosest sense of the word. I know who I am. I know what I stand for. I've got the record to back it up. I've got my friends to back it up. I'm not racist, I'm not sexist, and I'm not homophobe. I'm also not making light of serious problems for monetary gain like you fuckers. See you next week, people. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, you know the stuff. Bye.
See all of our shows and game reviews now on the brand new GT app on Xbox Live and the GT Originals iOS app too.